This is the Hover Air X1 ProMax 8K drone, and the question I'm attempting to answer in this video is this: will this finally be the first drone I actually take with me when I go out to do fun activities? Things like skiing and biking. Can the average Joe amateur videographer or content creator start capturing high quality footage quickly and easily with this drone? Basically, will people actually use this? By the way, Hover sent me this drone to review and test. However, all opinions on this video and comments are all my own. That being said, let's see what this is all about. Now, I've owned drones before, like the DJI Mavic Pro, and most recently the Mini 3 Pro, and they're awesome, but here's the problem. They're just not convenient. It takes around 3 to 5 minutes to go from off to up in the air and recording. Well, that doesn't sound like much when you pull up next to your buddies on the trail and want to capture a quick clip. You quickly become that guy, you know, the one that everyone's waiting on to get their Instagram story. Yeah, that guy. Which brings us to the Hover Air ProMax. This drone is all about quick and easy. Thanks to its protective cage, you can shove it in your pocket with no worries about damage. And it's ready to fly the moment you need it, like say right before dropping into a jump line or hitting your favorite trail. And wait until you see the beacon. Seriously, wow. With the beacon synced to the drone, not only do you get a live preview of what it's seeing, but it can track you way more accurately by following the beacon instead of just guessing where you are. So, spoiler alert, does it record great footage quickly and efficiently? Yes. Yes, it does. Let's start with the flight modes because this is where the ProMax really shines. It has all the usual suspects: follow, side follow, orbit, dolly track, and a few cool extras like cycle and ski mode. In all, there's over 10 of them. Switching modes is refreshingly simple thanks to the built-in screen and controls. No need to pull out your phone app or the beacon, though you can control it that way too. To take off, just select your mode, press the button, hold your hand steady, and it'll launch itself like it's reading your mind. It'll even signal when it's recording with a red light, and it will gracefully land like a well-trained bird. Or you can use the beacon if you'd rather land it on the ground. Your call. Follow mode is the star here, so let's dig in. When it's synced to the beacon, follow mode is ridiculously good. The drone tracks your exact path, dodging obstacles like a pro. On one rather challenging trail, it only lost me once in a patch of tight trees. And honestly, I'm blaming the sun for this one. The sunlight was flaring directly into the drone's sensors and camera, which threw it off. But here's the impressive part. I went back and relaunched the drone from a different angle and tried the same trail again. This time, it flew through the same tight trees flawlessly, navigating branches and turns like it had something to prove. It was incredible to see how well it handled the twists and overgrown areas. Even when I thought, there's no way it's going to make it through here without hitting something, it surprised me, especially in a challenging environment like the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest. Imagine riding solo at a skills park. Normally you need a tripod and consistent repositioning. With this drone, just launch it, ride, and relive the magic later. Or like in my case, realize your airtime was just a couple feet. But my lack of airtime aside, look how well the drone tracked me at over 20 miles per hour on this jump line and around the berm at the end. No complaints there. It kept up flawlessly and stayed locked on, delivering smooth, cinematic footage without breaking a sweat. Cycle mode though, not my favorite. It's supposed to create dynamic shots by cutting its own path, but in practice, it ends up flying sideways a lot. And sideways plus trees equals crashes. In open areas or lighter brush, it handled things decently, like weaving between a tree and a stump without any issues. But when I took it into the dense trails of the Pacific Northwest, it became clear that the constant sideways flying is a liability. The drone tries to predict your path and ends up veering into trees or objects, which led to a few crashes during my tests. Ultimately, this mode might work better in areas with fewer obstacles, but for weaving through dense forests or technical trails, I'll be sticking to the standard follow mode, which did a far better job of tracking me and avoiding crashes. In fact, I never once in the weeks that I've had this drone had a single crash on follow mode. And there are lots of different modes that you can play with this drone, depending on what you're trying to capture and the type of video you're trying to put together and whatever story you're trying to tell. The different tracking modes will help you puzzle that together. The orbit shot is a great one to capture all the scene around you and really show your viewers where you're at in the trail, for example, like I did here, or really just get a great shot of the view and scene around you. The bird's eye view is great for showing you some of the obstacles maybe you're going across, such as this railroad track on one of my trail rides. And of course, there's a zoom in and zoom out shots, which always add a ton to videos. The Dolly Track mode is another interesting option. It's designed to keep the drone in front of you while following your movements. When I tested it in an open area like a flat trail or a slow hike, it worked beautifully, staying locked on, gliding smoothly, and keeping me in the center of the frame. It even added a bit of character with some subtle side-to-side movement, which gave the footage a nice, natural feel. But Dolly Track does have its limits. When I picked up the pace or made sharp turns like a 90-degree corner while biking, it struggled to keep up. The drone would lose track of me, especially in dense areas where quick direction changes happen. While it's not quite as robust as the follow mode, it still works well for specific scenarios where you're moving in straight lines or slower speeds. The drone's front and rear sensors did a great job preventing any crashes while using this mode. No issues there. However, the lack of side sensors means you'll want to plan your routes carefully or stick to more open spaces to avoid any unfortunate tree encounters. Now we've got to talk about the beacon. This thing is a game changer. The beacon is a compact device that straps to your wrist, handlebars, or practically anywhere you need it, and it gives you a live preview of what the drone sees with almost no lag. That live feed alone is worth it. It's crispy, reliable, and helps you adjust on the fly. But it's not just a preview, the beacon gives you full control over the drone's basic functions. You can switch between modes, start and stop recording, and even manually control the drone if needed. What really sets it apart though is its ability to enhance tracking. It's not perfect, but it's a huge improvement. It even alerts you with beeps, verbal cues, and notifications on the screen if the drone loses tracking, runs into an obstacle, or has another issue. This constant feedback provides a sense of security, especially when you're focusing on riding or hiking instead of babysitting your drone. Without the beacon, the drone's tracking is still good, but with the beacon, it's next level. I tested this out at one of my favorite mountain biking locations called Tiger Mountain, where the trails are a mix of open stretches and tight and technical sections. Unfortunately, on this trip, I forgot to bring the beacon, but it did allow me to test out the ability of the drone to track all on its own. And for the most part, it did okay. One of my favorite shots from the day was when I was passing my buddies on this incredibly steep hill. No, I'm not in very good shape. I just happened to be on an e-bike, but the drone followed me swerving around them and was able to capture that shot. And then we went on the trail, and at first, it did awesome. It was so cool to see the different shots from the different perspectives and following us along these trails. It was so cool. But then all of a sudden, it lost me. We're going between 8 to 10 miles per hour, well within the range of this drone at 26 miles per hour following speed, and we were just on regular follow mode. But when the trail curved really sharp on this berm, the drone just sort of stopped and I lost it. And this pattern happened a few times throughout the day, and I ended up just kind of putting the drone in my pocket and wishing I had the beacon. But I have to admit, the footage that it did capture before I put it back in my pocket was awesome, and I can't wait to go back to these trails again with the beacon and capture some more awesome shots. Now I should mention what comes in the box. I was sent the cycling case, which included the ProMax with a battery, 2 extra smart batteries, the beacon, a power adapter, a carrying bag, ND filter set, a charging hub, a USB-C cable, and a magnetic adapter. It's a pretty complete package, and having the extra batteries and ND filters is a huge bonus for anyone planning longer sessions or shooting in a variety of lighting conditions. And here are the key specs you'll actually care about. You get a large 1.3-inch sensor that records crisp, clear footage even in low light conditions, a 16-minute flight time with quick swappable batteries, a top follow mode speed of 26 miles per hour, and it weighs just 192.5 grams. It charges via a USB-C. It includes a 10-bit HDR mode for capturing vibrant and detailed footage, and you also get a durable propeller cage made from highly elastic material. Unfortunately, I did put this to the test. After I met a tree, there was no damage at all. Other drones would have at least bent a propeller, if not worse. This level of durability made it feel like the ProMax is built for real-world use, even in tough environments like I had it in. I mean, look at this thing. Come on. Now we need to talk about this hover carrying bag. There's a zipper in the middle that once you unzip, you can fit it right around the frame of your bike, and it straps on pretty securely. It can easily hold your drone, a couple spare batteries, and your beacon. The whole setup is small enough that if you're just pedaling straight and not doing any kind of downhill riding, you don't find your knees bumping into it too much, but if you're actually going to be going out and doing some real mountain biking, you're probably going to want to find somewhere else like a backpack to put all your stuff. And it didn't really bring up the cool factor of my bike, if you know what I mean. But of course we had to test it out, so I went and did a couple laps with it with a drone in hover mode. I will say that it is very good quality, and it does certainly make it convenient for getting that drone in and out when you want to get that quick shot. Next, let's take a look at the app. When you first log on to the app, you can see some other shots from other people that have been uploaded. And at the bottom, when you click on hover, it instantly pairs with your hover drone as long as it is turned on. And when you go into the hover settings, this is where you have all your different parameters that you can set for each of the different flight modes. For example, we can go into the follow mode and we can change the distance the drone is following you, the altitude, the shooting mode. You can change it to HDR, slow motion, which can go all the way up to 4K 120 frames per second, or as low as 1080p at 100 frames per second. You can switch it to vertical mode if you're going to be recording some reels or something for social media. And then you can even hit switch to follow mode on the bottom and send that mode straight to the drone. You have a lot of other settings in here, such as sound recording mode, which lets you record to the video that's being recorded from the app itself, which this is one of the few drones where you can record your audio directly to the footage of the drone without having to match it up later. And they give you some instructions on how to do that. You can also view all the different footage on the drone. You can view what's on the SD card, as well as the internal storage. And then you can go ahead and download all of that footage straight onto your phone to make edits or share with your friends or social media. And you can also manually fly this drone from the app itself. One more thing that needs to be pointed out is that it is noticeably quiet. And I mean quiet for a drone. So much so that if the drone gets more than 20 feet behind you, you can barely hear it. And that is certainly one thing that deters people from using a drone, is just the whole worry of annoying other people. And that was one of the first things I noticed, and one of the top things I love about this drone. Now, as far as pricing goes, there's actually a few different types of cameras. You can get the X1 Pro or the X1 ProMax. And in this video, we only covered the ProMax. If you're considering the Pro, make sure you look at the differences in the comparison chart on their website. As I mentioned in this video, we were covering the Cycle Combo, which right now is selling for $1,089. But they have other combos in here, such as the Winter Combo and the Skiing Combo, as well as the ability to pick up the beacon and the joystick separately, and a power case that lets you charge the batteries as you go. The drone does come with a 15-day free return guarantee and a 1-year warranty. So circling back to the original question, will this finally be the drone I carry with me to do all these fun things? Well, so far the answer has been yes. Because of its small form factor and how quick it is to get up in the air and how good the footage looks, I found myself using it a lot more than I have used any other drone in the past. And if someday they add side sensors to this drone, it could just be that much better. There's so much more to talk about with this little drone, so if you want to know more information on it, I'll put the link down below in the description.